Okay. Well, just another day in paradise. Let's see. What can we talk about today? How about how lies start when it comes to politics? In my opinion, this is only my opinion, so, don't take it to heart. It's not something you believe in, but it's something I do. So let me turn the light on. Politicians, 99% of them make promises that they actually cannot keep. They can stand there on a podium and tell you, I'm going to decrease taxes, I'm going to lower rents and mortgage payments, and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. They can't physically do it on their own. And if they really cared about the situation, they would get other people on board. Okay. So that's mainly why I don't trust politicians, period, because I know that they're trying to get elected, so they're going to say whatever they want the constituents to hear. And that's what they do. So, with that being said, no, I don't trust Trump. I never did. I never thought he was qualified to be a president, but voters, I guess, made me be wrong. That's because, they believed in everything he said, which goes to show you we still have racism in this country. We still have people that hate other people because of who they are. So there is still that kind of stuff going on. I mean, it's not as bad as it was in this, because believe me, people were getting killed left and right just because of the color of their skin, or just because they, not realizing they did, looked up and looked at a white person. Which, yes, that stuff did happen. Many young people were being killed because they said or did or, looked at somebody that was white wrong. And that did happen. I can guarantee you that. I remember some of the news reports. There was a lot of hate going on there, and it hasn't stopped. It hasn't stopped at all. And then, that's what I worry about the world, because, the more people going to hate, the more we're going to go back downhill. Right now, we got other nations laughing at us because of what President Trump is doing, and I'll be polite and call him a president because he was elected. You tell me what that's about, and I'll tell you. But to me, Trump was not qualified because he was never a governor or a congressman or senator or, a representative for the House. He was never none of that. He went from being, well, he still is, a rich tycoon, because of his father, by the way, not because of him, and went right into the political arena and became president because people believed all his lies. Just like he knew more when COVID started, he knew about it before the country knew about it. And all you those blaming China for it, don't blame China, okay? People that are sick don't realize they're sick. We don't know how it really got started. Somebody could have brought the virus to them first and they didn't know about it. And, that happens. But, you know, blame game needs to stop on that. Yeah, China has a government that I don't agree with, but that's their business, that's their country. Here's what I'm worried about, because this is where I live. This is where, many of us live that are from here. I happen to be living in a red state right now that doesn't appreciate its elderly or its vets, and, that's not the problem. But if I don't say thanks for watching, because you come up abruptly, but, I'll have to end it, so beware. Back to this. Okay, to me, Trump was not qualified because he'd never held, office before becoming president. He only knows how to run a business, and he's been running his family's businesses to the ground. There's several businesses of his that went into bankruptcy. But I wish the Republicans would have picked somebody that actually knows how Congress works. And to me, you have to be a congressman before you become president. That's just my opinion. Okay? Everybody else has their own opinion, it's fine. But that's my opinion on that. We need a president that's going to care about more than just the rich people of the country. He needs to care about the whole of the country. Which means him getting food stamp recipients. I can't talk because a lot of my teeth are gone, and right now I don't have no medical, which I'm trying for that, but that one thing at a time. Anyway, because of his insistence on them passing that bill before anybody could get them, they had to agree to it. They were forced into taking, candy and sodas off. What's the problem? If you're claiming it's going to make them healthier by not doing that, well, what about the rest of the country, the ones that are not on it? Shouldn't they be made to not be able to drink sodas and stuff? See, you're a two-way street there, That's what they're claiming the reason for stopping the sodas and the candy and stuff, is to make people healthier. Well, there's more than people on food stamps that need to be healthy. The whole country does. So, people are going to buy what they can afford. And, I've seen, like, for a roll hamburger, not even store brand, the off brand, it's even like $14 and something for like 3 pounds. That's too much. I could see 10 pounds for that, but I mean, I could see, like for 5 pounds, that should be it. For like 3 pounds, it should be no more than $10. That's just me, okay? Okay, I mean, chicken is not cheap either. Hamburger used to be the cheapest meat they had. And despite what everybody thinks, people on it are not buying lobster and steak. And steak is meat. It's food. What's the problem with it? Hello? Food. Y'all complaining about people buying that stuff, okay? Then if that is what you think they should buy, then that's what should have been on the banned list. Not sodas and candy. And, as a soda drinker, yeah, I do like to have a soda, but I do also drink water. I drink milk when I have something sweet. You know, banning stuff like that is stupid. This is my opinion. But this starts with what Trump pulled, because he wants to be able to tell people what they can do with their lives, what they can eat, what what they can put in their gas tank. You think he's the one that lowered those prices down? They're still high in California. If he lowered gas prices down, it would be all over the country, not just in certain states. It would be also in California, which they pay a high price for their gas. Okay, so it has nothing to do with that man in office. It has to do with the people that can, sells the gas to the gas stations. Okay, it has to do with them. They're the ones with the high price. So it's lower here because the people that deal with it here know how to deal with it, and they're probably using resources from Texas because there's oil wells all over this state, and it hasn't ran dry. So there's that. Okay? So stop blaming the gas prices on other people. If you want to blame the high gas prices, you blame it on the people that are selling the gas to the gas stations. Because then the people at the gas station that own those stations have to up the price so they can, buy more later. So, it's not, I don't blame Trump for that. And I'm not saying it was his fault either, But going in, and Iran didn't do anything to us. And all, since before. I mean, no, they're not choir boys over there. They're a different country, different, a different religion. They don't like Christians, which are, not all of them are like that though. See, that's where you all get it wrong. Not all of them in that country agree with their government. They just can't say nothing. Just like in China. Most Chinese people don't agree with a lot of the stuff that, is being done there. But they have no power to say anything, so they just live their lives as good as they can. But Trump, I don't know what provoked Trump to do that. We don't need to be in another war. We need to find ways to find peace, not wars. And I know that all you Trump followers are going to disagree, and that's fine. Everybody has a right to agree or disagree. But I think, people need to understand that war is not romantic and it ain't pretty. People actually die. Human beings are being killed. Which, if he claims he's such a Christian, then why is he going against his own commandments that he has to follow? The thou shalt not kill. Well, he's done plenty of that now, hasn't he? So this is my little rant on that. But like I said, I don't think Trump should have been allowed to be president. I think, hang on, it's going to get dark for a minute. I need to get the spray, so it's going to get dark a little bit. Let's spray in here. It just is coming out here. Anyway, so that's my opinion about that, We have to start being good to each other. And I personally am not against any religion. I respect any religion, including my own. And I'm a bad one at mine. But to my defense, I can't get to Mass because there's no Catholic church within walking distance. Anyway, we got to start being good to each other because, We don't, things are going to get worse. We have to start taking care of each other. And stop complaining about what people buy on food stamps because it's what they can afford. And they got to make a certain amount. Like here in Texas, one person's got to make 200 and, well, I only get 200 and something, but like somebody else may get 298. Okay. They have to make that stretch the whole month, not just a week. They only get that once a month. So you all sitting there complaining about paying for the food stamps and stuff. Mind you, try to live off of $298. Just try it for 1 month. See if that $298 in food stretches the whole month. And I'm talking from the 1st to the 31st or the 30th, whichever month you choose. Don't cheat and do it in February. But try it. I mean, just try it and put yourself in their shoes. Because, see, people have to make a choice whether they pay rent, pay bills, or buy food. And you all complaining, well, they get money. Well, yeah, they may get money, but that doesn't cover rent, food, and everything. And I'm not talking about, the internet or, cable. I'm talking about just regular bills. Because in some places, you not only have to get electric, you have to get gas. You have to pay for trash. You have to pay for water in some places. It's not, everybody pays for that. Most places will pay for trash and water. But that's like if you get a house, you rent a house, you've got to pay for the water and trash. Unless you've got a real nice owner that will do that. But a lot of them won't. So, you try to budget yourself to how much one person gets, and you'll see, you can't cover rent. Because even the studios are over $1,000, like in California, are over $1,000. Here's the same thing. We were lucky, we, found a place where we only had to pay $969, and that includes the electric, because there's no gas, because it's, it doesn't have but, burners on top. It doesn't have an oven or anything. It's not run by gas here, because this used to be an old motel, to be honest. Anyway, we can continue this conversation on another day, because you should be coming up here. So, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening to my kind of rant. You can put your opinion, it doesn't matter what the opinion is, down below if you want. I leave comments open, so that's fine. I'm just a little old grandma. Okay, I hope everybody has a good day. See you in the next one.